Hi guys, you're welcome again to SVBF live session. My name is Kemi, as you know. So today's topic is quite emotional. She's talking about her marriage, and she's saying that marriage is not what it used to be, and that she thinks that it might split, and how should she prepare for this? First off, I would like to say that how do you know that you're going to split? Have you talked about it? You know, have you guys talked about it, or you're just assuming that your marriage might end soon? Or are you the one that thinks separation is the option? Are you the one thinking it, or you both are thinking it? That's the number one thing. If you're thinking it, why are you thinking it? Have you tried to seek help? Have you guys tried to seek help from the appropriate quarters? Have you talked about it? If the marriage is not what it used to be, really it's a sad thing. And divorce and separation is not easy. It's not easy. It's just that word is just it's tougher than you know. It's tougher than you think. So sometimes separation and divorce might really not be the escape to what exactly you're feeling. You might actually separate and then you're still not fine. So are you the one thinking it, or you just feel that it's inevitable, that's what's going to happen? So we're not going to dwell on that today. We're going to dwell on the question, how to prepare for the separation or divorce. Okay. Now, I will be assuming that you've tried everything possible to rectify or you've sought help, you've done everything you can to make sure that the marriage does not crash. I mean, both parties have done that, and they still feel that the marriage should separate or divorce. So that is what we are assuming now, and then that is what I'm going to be talking about. So first off, number one is I've talked about trying to resolve it. Have you tried to resolve it? Have you gotten help? If you have, and you still think this is what you have to do, it's inevitable. Then number two, are you sure that this is exactly what you want? Because really, you might just feel that you want to separate. I just want to leave this man. I just want to leave this woman. My life is not what I thought it would be with this person. But really, sometimes we might not know what exactly we are getting ourselves into. Are you sure this separation is exactly what you want? Are you sure you're not going to look back and say, oh, maybe I should have done it another way, or maybe I should have waited a little, maybe I should have been patient? So at this particular point, I would like to say that separation and divorce is not an emotional decision. You don't do it because you are angry. You don't do it because you feel down. You don't do it because it is not something that is done because, oh, let me do it. Or you do it because people are doing it. Or you do it because your friend splits with his wife or her husband. No, it's not something you do. It's something that you actually sit and think about for a long time, so that when you actually take that step, you do not regret it. You don't go back and say, oh, maybe, because really it will hurt. Body go pepper you. Seriously. Okay, I'll take myself for example. Before I decided to separate, maybe it had been in my head for like a year or so, like this might happen, this might happen. I knew it could happen. I'd prepared for it. I knew it could happen. I'd weighed my options. It wasn't an emotional decision. So when it happened, I didn't look back. It wasn't something that, even when people were saying, oh, the marriage crashed because this, because that, it didn't even matter whatever anybody said, because really it was a decision. It was a logical decision. It was something that I did because I had thought about it, and that is what the final decision could be as a then. So if you are going to look back and say, oh, maybe I should have done this because of my children, then you don't have any business separating or divorcing. Or if you're the kind of person that after separation and you find out your husband is with somebody else, or you find out your wife is with somebody else, and you will be jealous, or body go pepper you. You don't have any business. You don't have any business separating, because really separation could cause a lot of things. Number one, if you are thinking of still mending your marriage, then I do not think that you should separate in the first place. Separation would give room for a lot of things. Would give room for other people, to see you guys. Your husband is seeing someone else, you are seeing someone else. There's a crack already. If you say, oh, I don't think things are resolved through separation. Although some people actually see themselves while separated. That happens. But what are the odds, really? What are the odds? Some couples get closer by separating, really. Because at that time you find out that, oh, this person is actually not really who I thought she was, or this person is actually not really who I thought he was. Maybe it's just syphilis syndrome that was happening to me then. Or especially for some men, when they separate from their wives, they find out that this girl is fine now. Because really, we women have that thing of when we detach or something, it's just like God just gave us that grace to be finer. And then the girl is just, slaying, and then like, I never knew this girl was fine like this. So the next thing, you're seeing some men in her office, checking her. Or maybe you heard your friend told you that your wife went on a date with somebody, and you're like, we're not even divorced, we are just separated. Then you are not even supposed to separate in the first place, because that's a crack. And when there's a crack, what happens? Lizards will get in, rodents will get in. So if you don't have business with separating, don't even think about it. Find something else. Find another way to resolve your issues. Do not separate. Do not do it because people are doing it. There is nothing in the streets, really. So for the third option, really, for the third point, is what exactly do you want? Are you separating or you're divorcing? Separation and divorce. Like I said in my third point, if you're separating, it means maybe you want to try to fix something. If you're trying to fix something while separating, then it means that there must be ground rules. Like, while we are separated, we cannot see other people, or things like that. Maybe you guys are separating because you still love each other, but maybe somebody has the tendency to physically attack the other person. That could be the issue. That could be the reason you're separating. So it might not necessarily mean that the person is ending the marriage, but it might mean that you're separating for resolve, to fix the issue or something. It might be other things. It might not necessarily be physical attacks or something. It might be other things. Like I said before, some couples actually see themselves better when they are separate, or they actually function better when the husband is abroad and the wife is at home, or when the wife is in school abroad and the husband is at home. Some couples actually function better that way. So sometimes separation might really not be too bad, but then to each man his own. You know what suits you, you go for it. So what exactly do you want? Are you doing a separation to resolve things, to see things better, or you're doing a divorce? If you're doing a divorce, you have to be sure you're doing a divorce. If you're doing a separation, you have to be sure what exactly you're getting out of that separation. So that is also very, very important. Okay, to another point, how to prepare for this separation or divorces. Do not drag the kids into your divorce or separation battles. Do not, for anything, even if you are tempted to. We women, we tend to do things like that. We are emotional beings, and for some reasons we discuss these things with the children, especially children that are old, maybe teenagers. I'm not saying you should not discuss what is happening with your children, because really, if you're going to separate, if you're going to divorce, you have to at a point, but do not drag them into the battle. Like I heard someone say, one day she said, oh, her teenage daughter does not call her daddy because, well, she knew what exactly he did to her when they were married. I was like, why would you do such a thing? Why would you allow that to happen? Because really, it is not the child's business. It means you are dragging the child into the husband and wife's issues. It is not the child's business. If your child is not calling your ex-husband daddy just because she saw what he did to you while you were married, then it means you have failed as a mother. Because It is not, she's not supposed to fight your battle. Your child is not supposed to fight your battle. They have absolutely nothing to do with that. It's a different case if your child's father is not fathering, is not doing his duties as a parent. That is different. That is affecting the child directly. But if it is not affecting the child in any way, if he is still a good father to his child, it is just that you are no longer his wife, then I do not see why you need to pour your bitterness into your child and make them fight your battle for you. Do not, it is number one rule, do not drag your child into your divorce or separation battles. You know what? The fact is, later, when your child is old enough, they always know who was wrong. They always know who the problem was. So no matter what it is you do right now, no matter what it is you say right now, yes, if you pour the bitterness into them and they decide to fight your battle for you, or they decide you turn their backs against their fathers, what happens? They might dance to your tune right now, but when they are adults, they will see it. You do not need to tell them. Nobody needs to tell them. They will see who exactly was the issue. If it was you, they will know. If it was their father, they will know. And that is why sometimes some children actually go back to their fathers when they are old enough. And then the mother is like, oh, after all I did. No, really. You are their mom. It doesn't matter. You have no business with their relationship with their dad. So even if their dad was dead, you will still be their mom. So, okay, I think I've dwelt on that enough. So, a very important thing to note is you have to be very aware of your financial situation. Somebody that has no job does not have any business separating. If you don't have a job, if you don't have a means of income, if you don't have a stable means of income, you don't have any business thinking about separation. And that is why every time I try to tell people to have a means of income, no matter how small. It is not a way to prepare for the worst. No, it is just a lifestyle. It is supposed to be a lifestyle. As a woman, you must not depend totally on your husband for money. As a man, of course, you are the provider. You cannot depend on your woman. You should not. But everybody should have a decent source of income. Now, before you think of getting a divorce or separation, you have to be sure of your financial status, your financial situation. Can you afford being separated from your spouse? Number one, there's rent, there's health, there's taxes, there's different things really. The expenses, there's maintenance if you have a car. There's a lot of things to do all by yourself if you don't have a means of income. Now, if you have children, that is a different ballgame entirely. If you have children, how do you take care of your children if you're taking your children with you? So you have to be aware of your financial situation and what is going to cost you. Now, to do that, what you can do is to do an estimate of how much your rent is going to be if you're going to be the one living the house. How much will be your rent? What kind of house are you going to be thinking of renting? How much is your rent per year or per month as it applies? If you're going to be going with the kids, how much healthcare, how much is it going to cost you? How much is their feeding going to cost you? Because really you are separating and you cannot assume that your partner is going to be taking care of the children. You cannot assume that your partner is going to be there always. Now you have to think of the healthcare, the feeding, the housing, the clothing, and other things really. So when you do the calculation and you get it per year, you divide by 12 and you know how much you have to make a month to do all these things. So please consider your financial situation before you think about separation. Okay, next is understanding your legal rights. Your legal rights meaning understanding what exactly the law expects of you. If you are separating, what are your rights? As a woman that has kids, what are your rights? As a man that has kids, what are your rights? I know that children from age 1 to 13, I think, have to be with their mothers, really. But that's a Nigerian law. I'm not sure of that. I'm not sure of the age right now, but infants cannot leave their moms, except when the woman is promiscuous or when she's she's insane. That's the word. So an infant has to be with their mother. So it does not matter how much the man has. If the child is a baby, if the child is a 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3-year-old, an infant has to be with their mom, no matter how rich the man is. Now that is Nigerian law, but I am not so sure, so I'm not going to dwell on it, but I know that legal right, of course. And then I know that woman, the mother of the child has to be stable, has to be sane. Only if the mother is insane or the mother is promiscuous. Those two reasons why an infant might not be staying with the mom. But really, you have to know your legal rights and what is in it for you, what the law expects of you, and what you need to do, and how you need to do those things. You really need to know. Then, also, you need to talk to a lawyer. That is why you need to talk to a lawyer. You can send me a DM if you need if you need legal services. You can send me a DM. I could reach out to some of our lawyers and then talk about it. But you really need to see a lawyer to know your legal rights also, what you need to do, the things you need to put in place to make sure that you'll be fine in this separation. Also, you need to get copies of your very important documents. Important documents meaning your marriage certificate. Even if you don't have an original, you have to have a copy. Marriage certificates, the children's birth certificates, passports, international passports, health records, and other stuff. If you own a business with your spouse, if you own a business with your wife or your husband, you need to have, copies of business agreements and all that. Have copies of very important documents so that you can actually refer to them when needed. You need copies of important documents. Most importantly, you need a copy of your marriage certificate. Very, very important. You have to consider practical living arrangements. Practical living arrangements, meaning who is going, who is staying. Of course, you and your spouse were living in the same house. Now, who will be living? That is assuming you guys have decided to separate. If it's the woman that is living, where will you be going to? Where will you be relocating to? If it's the man that is living, where is he going? Now, who is going to be paying the rent? If you're living as a woman, if you're living with the children and you're relocating, will the children be relocating with you? Will they be changing their school? How will this affect them? If you're staying in the house with the children and the man is leaving, who is paying the rent of the house, or who is paying, general living arrangements, really. Visitation arrangements, when the mother or the father can visit the children, who picks the children from school and all that. You have to be able to understand that already before you even think of getting divorce or separation, really. You need to think of those basic living arrangements so that it does not affect your children in any way. It will affect them, but it will not affect them adversely. That's what I'm saying. So you need to get that also in place. Okay, I think the last on the list is you have to consider how you would inform the kids. Yes, when you've thought about it and you've decided finally to do this, how do you inform the kids? Of course, for teenagers or preteens, it might not be too difficult, maybe because they've seen it, they understand what exactly is happening in the house. They've seen the two of you drift apart and all that, so they might not be shocked. But for children, for babies that will ask of their dad, or ask of their mom, what do you do? What do you tell them when it finally happens? For teens or preteens, those ones, how do you explain to them that this is what it has come to and this is how you guys are going to live your lives? How do you explain it to them? How would they take it? If you need a third party to also explain it to them, you know, all those things. Consider how you would inform the kids. I think that's it for now about how to prepare for divorce. So next time, I hope to bring a legal practitioner so that we can actually see what this is in the eye of the law, how to prepare in the eye of the law. So thank you for tuning into the live today. I'll see you next week.